A war declared, a mechanic chosen. The message came through Earth's defense grid like a thunderclap in silence. This is High Admiral Vokar of the Galactic Empire. Humanity will surrender within 24 galactic standard hours or face conquest. Your weapons are outdated. Your defenses are meaningless. Your resistance is irrelevant. It was not a declaration. It was an announcement, a prelude to occupation, broadcast across every frequency, every screen. The Empire's elite warriors, genetically engineered, psionically enhanced, and armed with weapons that bent the laws of physics, had crushed dozens of civilizations. Earth was next. In a quiet subterranean war chamber beneath Geneva, Earth's leaders stared at the holographic projection of Vokar's face. Scaly, smug, arrogant. Behind him stood the famed Dread Corps, silent as statues. General Marquez exhaled slowly. "We got orbital cannons, stealth drones, and half a dozen ace pilots in cryo. But they're bringing that." President Rao leaned forward, tapping the holodeck. "Our simulations say direct military engagement ends in planetary extinction. We need something else, a tactic they won't see coming." The AI war advisor, Cassie, flickered into view, her avatar calm, middle-aged woman with an eternal knowing smile. "What they won't anticipate," she said, "is that we do not fight like they do. Send one human, not a soldier, not a diplomat, someone unpredictable." General Marquez raised an eyebrow. "Unpredictable how?" Cassie smiled wider. "I have someone in mind." Juno Kessler hurled the Hydra spanner at the wall, narrowly missing her supervisor's head. 3 hours rewiring this junk heap, and you override the power cycle again? I should weld your chair to the reactor exhaust. Her boots clanged on the floor of the asteroid salvage station's engine bay. Covered in grease, sweat, and fury, Juno was a known problem. She was also the only person in the system who could get a fusion drive singing again with just a wrench, a bad attitude, and some spare parts. Her supervisor had just opened his mouth for a half-hearted threat when 2 armed soldiers in UN uniforms stepped into the bay. "Juno Kessler?" one asked. "Depends," she muttered, reaching for a welder. "Is this about the fuel pump incident or the vending machine?" "You've been selected for special diplomatic assignment." Juno blinked. "Diplomatic?" A pause. "Yes," the soldier said carefully. "In the sterile, glass-walled conference room aboard the orbital HQ." Juno leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. Across the table sat President Rao, General Marquez, and the ever-smiling AI, Cassie. "You want me," she said slowly, "to board an alien warship, alone, and annoy them?" "Not annoy," Marquez said. "Disrupt. Sabotage. Destabilize." "Same thing, just with more explosives," Juno muttered. Rao leaned forward. "You've got experience with alien tech. You can think on your feet. And frankly, we need someone reckless enough to try the impossible. You had me at reckless." She paused. "What's in it for me?" "Your record wiped. Salvage rights on anything you find. And a pension that makes your grandkids rich." Juno narrowed her eyes. "And," Marquez sighed, "unlimited beer rations. Import quality. Done." She stood. "But I bring my own tools." 3 days later, aboard the customized, ramshackle freighter Trouble Magnet, Juno reviewed her equipment. Reinforced EVA suit. Check. Compact fusion cutter. Check. EMP grenades made from toasters. Check. And finally, her spanner. Massive, dented, unbreakable. She called it Mr. Whack. As she approached the Empire's colossal flagship, the Wargid's fist, she whistled low. "You compensating for something, boys?" The docking clamps engaged. The ship rumbled around her. A polite chime from the freighter AI. Diplomatic airlock engaged. "Good luck, Miss Kessler." She cracked her knuckles. "Let's go void some warranties." The airlock hissed open with a theatrical whoosh, revealing a squad of Imperial honor guards in blood-red armor. Their leader stepped forward, 7 feet tall, eyes glowing faintly, speaking in a voice like shattered stone. "Human delegate, state your purpose." Juno stepped forward, boots ringing on polished black metal. She looked him up and down, unimpressed. "My name's Juno Kessler. I'm here to represent Earth. He sneered. You are alone. Are you an envoy? She grinned. No, I'm the problem you invited in by being arrogant bastards. And I'm here to fix your ship. Fix? Yeah, she said, pulling out Mr. Whack and resting it on her shoulder. Fix it so it stops working. The guards hesitated. Juno spat her gum into a nearby vat. Let's get started, boys. The greatest warriors meet the biggest problem. The grand hangar of the Wargood's fist was a shrine to imperial might. Smooth obsidian floors gleamed beneath the boots of warriors bred for conquest. Rows of fighter craft stood aligned with military perfection. Banners bearing the clawed emblem of the Empire hung like thunderclouds overhead. Into this sanctum of discipline and dread walked Juno Kessler. Her boots squeaked with grease. Her jumpsuit was scorched and oil-stained. Mr. Whack, slung across her back, gleamed with chipped chrome and dried coolant. Dozens of warriors stared as she strolled down the center of the hangar, chewing the same gum she'd been working for an hour. At the far end, Commander Zelvar watched her approach. 9 feet tall, in ceremonial obsidian armor, the Empire's most decorated warrior was not amused. You are the human representative? He asked, voice low and dangerous. Juno stopped 5 paces away, tilted her head. You always this formal? Or are you just compensating for the weird helmet? Gasps echoed. One of the guards actually stepped back. Zelvar's glowing eyes narrowed. I am Commander Zelvar, Highblade of the Dread Corps. I have vanquished entire species. You bring disrespect. She shrugged. You declared war on Earth. I figured I'd return the favor. Zelvar motioned, and 2 soldiers stepped forward to escort her, politely but firmly. Juno raised a hand. Touch me, and I turn your fancy armor into a popcorn maker. They hesitated. Where's your escort? Your weapons? Your ship is a disgrace. Zelvar circled her slowly. This is not war. This is farce. She grinned. Then you shouldn't have a problem. Before they could react, she popped open a side panel on a wall console, pulled 2 wires, and shoved a capacitor between them. Lights flickered. A maintenance drone sparked and crashed into a bulkhead. One of the banners caught fire. Oops, she said, not sounding sorry. Security klaxons blared. Warriors drew weapons. Juno pulled out Mr. Whack and spun it once in her grip. Right. Since I'm here, anyone mind pointing me toward the engine room? Or should I find it the fun way? The Empire's flagship was a marvel of alien engineering. Kilometer-long corridors, armored maintenance shafts, and redundant systems hidden behind seamless panels. Juno didn't care. She'd worked on worse. As alarms rang, she ducked into a side hatch and dropped into the vent system, crawling like a rat with a mission. She pulled a scanner from her hip. Where's your sweet spot, sweetheart? Within minutes, she found a junction box wired like a paranoid octopus had designed it. It was beautiful. She shorted 3 circuits, redirected a coolant line, and programmed a recursive loop into the environmental AI. In 1 hour, the flagship's plumbing would reverse. Toilets would flush upward, her gift to the Empire. As she worked, she spoke softly to Mr. Whack. You see the way that guy looked at me? Like I'm dirt. I've been dirt before. Didn't like it then, don't like it now. A faint tremor shook the corridor. Troops were searching. They wouldn't find her easily. She'd sealed several doors behind her and hot-wired others to explode if opened wrong. She grinned. Come find me, lizard boys. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Zelvar fumed. This is an insult, a distraction, a plumber, not a warrior. She's disabled 6 drones, triggered 5 alerts, and has somehow rerouted a third of our internal sensors, said the tactical officer. Morale is unstable. Zelvar slammed a clawed fist into the command console. She is one human. Exactly, murmured Admiral Vyarshin. Which begs the question, if one can cause this much chaos, how many more are waiting? Silence. She is not a soldier, Zelvar said slowly. She is something worse. A saboteur. Vyarshin nodded. And our warriors don't know how to fight someone who breaks the rules. Juno was already in the lower gravity ring, crouched beside a plasma relay box. She'd rerouted the power draw so that several interior lights now flickered in Morse code. I can hear you breathing. Your systems suck. Send snacks. She found a snack dispenser and rewired it to launch protein bars at high velocity. One had knocked a passing elite warrior unconscious. As she munched on another bar herself, her comm clicked open. "Human," came Zelvar's voice. "Cease this sabotage. Face me in the arena. Prove yourself." Juno snorted. "You want me to put down the tools and fight you in a fair duel?" "Yes." She bit off another chunk. "Okay." The arena gleamed with polished stone and ceremonial fire pits. Hundreds of Imperial warriors lined the balconies above. Juno walked in carrying Mr. Whack and chewing her fourth snack bar. Zelvar stepped in like a colossus of war. "For the honor of the Empire," he intoned. "For Earth's broken vending machines," she replied. They circled. He lunged. She dodged, smashed a pipe, and released a scalding jet of steam into his face. He staggered. She whacked his knee. He roared. She triggered the trapdoor she'd rigged under his feet earlier. Zelvar dropped into the waste processing level with a crash and a scream. Juno dusted her hands. "Next time, check the floor plans. Sabotage and spanners." The Empire's flagship was bleeding. Not in the traditional sense. There were no gaping holes in its hull, no plasma fires ripping through bulkheads. But deep inside its guts, in the arteries of coolant lines and neural relays, something had gone very, very wrong. Elevators reversed. Doors opened sideways. The artificial gravity hiccuped every 20 minutes, sending unsuspecting soldiers floating through halls like confused fish. And through it all moved Juno Kessler, grinning and muttering as she wreaked quiet havoc. "This is what happens," she told a flickering wall panel, "when you let nerds design a warship without a single maintenance override switch. Arrogant alien morons." She jammed Mr. Whack into a sealed access panel, twisted until it screeched, and exposed a cluster of power relays pulsing with energy. She carefully removed one, flipped it upside down, and stuck it back in. The corridor lights turned green, then purple. Somewhere far off, alarms began to wail. Bingo! Commander Zelvar sat seething in the command med bay, drenched in recycled bio-waste and humiliation. He hadn't spoken since being pulled out of the waste chute. He didn't scream when the medics scraped sludge off his armor. He didn't flinch when reports rolled in, coolant failures, power surges, food replicators now printing insulting poems instead of meals. One technician trembled before him, holding a data pad. "She's bypassed 37 systems. Sabotaged 23. She's built 5 improvised explosive devices out of cafeteria equipment. Morale is collapsing." Zelvar growled, low and guttural. "Why haven't we caught her?" "She's using maintenance shafts and trash conduits. She never stays still. She leaves traps. Booby-trap toolboxes, trip wires made from dental floss, even one door rigged to play Terran music when opened." "What kind of music?" "Country." Zelvar snarled so hard his visor cracked. "I will break her." Juno sat cross-legged in a hidden access space behind the gravity core. She'd rewired the internal comms to transmit ambient engine noise into the command deck PA system, just loud enough to irritate, but not enough to warrant a system reset. The Empire didn't believe in maintenance subroutines. Everything was manual. That was their mistake. She dug a protein bar out of her pocket, bit off half, and sighed. For the first time in hours, she let her expression drop. "I really hate space," she whispered. In the darkness, surrounded by blinking consoles and hissing pipes, she remembered a different room. Smaller, hotter, her brothers standing next to her, holding a broken pressure gauge and grinning. They'd been fixing a skiff together. She'd warned him not to take that contract to the Outer Belt. He hadn't listened. A week later, his ship went dark. Bad wiring. Cheap parts. No backup power. Empire design. She chewed slowly, jaw tight. They called it a civilian oversight. Said we weren't worth priority repairs. Her fingers clenched around Mr. Whack. No more oversight now. By the time Imperial technicians got the gravity core back online, Juno had already sabotaged 3 more systems. A fuel line rerouted itself into the fighter bay, soaking Zelvar's elite squad in sticky blue plasma gel. Training simulations looped into Earth sitcoms. The fire suppression system in the central barracks began releasing glitter instead of foam. The Empire was not amused. But the troops? The rank-and-file soldiers? Some of them were starting to laugh. They weren't supposed to laugh. They were supposed to fear. And that terrified the commanders more than anything. She's unraveling discipline, Varshan hissed. Piece by piece. Joke by joke. Sabotage a strategy. She is one human, Zelvar growled. She is winning. Juno slid into a service lift shaft, catching a bundle of cables to slow her descent. She landed with a grunt in a sublevel that stank of coolant and desperation. Her scanner pinged. A jackpot. The central fusion core chamber. 5 guards waited outside it, weapons ready. She didn't flinch. Instead, she fished into her kit, pulled out a small canister, and tossed it down the corridor. It rolled, beeped, and exploded in a flash of white foam and honking noises. The guards panicked. One slipped. Another fired at a wall. Juno barreled through the chaos, Mr. Wax swinging, and dropped all 5 in under 30 seconds. She stepped into the fusion chamber, eyes wide with awe. The core thrummed with raw power. Alien conduits pulsed like veins. It was beautiful, precise, flawless. Let's ruin you. She got to work. Zelvar burst into the command deck, rearmed and burning with fury. A new report awaited him. She's reached the fusion core. Silence fell. No backup. No army. Just one furious woman. The technician swallowed. In a spanner. Zelvar turned slowly. Then I will face her myself. She's armed with traps and improvised weapons. She is armed with defiance. I will crush it. As he stomped toward the exit, the power flickered. The lights dimmed. And over the entire ship's intercom, Juno's voice rang out. Hey, Empire boys. I'm inside your engine room. You might want to check your cooling system. It's currently duct-taped and overheating. The line cut. In the core chamber, Juno flipped the last switch and stepped back. The override sequence was ready. One wrong setting, and the whole ship would suffer a chain reaction that shut it down for weeks. Not destruction. She wasn't a monster. Just a long, humiliating nap. She heard boots behind her. Zelvar. She grinned and cracked her knuckles. You're late. Hope you brought tools. Shut down. The doors to the fusion core slammed open like thunder. Commander Zelvar stepped through, his armor scorched, cape torn, plasma blade humming with menace. Behind him, the lights flickered and smoke coiled from shattered conduits. The ship was wheezing, slowly dying under the weight of one stubborn woman with a tool belt. Juno stood before the control dais, Mr. Wack resting across her shoulders. Sweat slicked her brow. The core pulsed behind her, angry and unstable. Its fail-safes bypassed. Its coolant rerouted. Its fail-safes gone. Step away from the panel, Zelvar growled. This ends now. You're damn right it does, she said, popping the last bite of a protein bar in her mouth. Say goodbye to your toy. I will kill you. She rolled her eyes. You've been saying that for 2 days. You really ought to start acting on it before your ship melts down around your ears. With a bellow, Zelvar charged. He was fast, much faster than his size suggested. His blade arced through the air with brutal grace, carving down toward her. Juno ducked, rolled, and came up swinging. Clang. Mr. Wack met alien steel, and the impact rang through the chamber like a bell. Sparks flew. Juno grunted, pivoted, and brought the spanner up in a brutal uppercut. Zelvar staggered, barely blocking the second blow. You fight like a feral thing, he snarled. I'm a feral thing, she grunted. You came to my planet. You threatened my people. And you underestimated a woman who knows what happens when systems fail. She swung again, wild, heavy, unforgiving. She wasn't trained for finesse. She wasn't built for elegance. She fought like she fixed, with force, instinct, and fury. The fusion core behind them pulsed hotter. Warning lights turned red. A soft alarm began ticking in the background. 90% overheat. Juno feinted left, then cracked Zelvar's pauldron with a downward strike. Metal crumpled. He roared and slammed his fist in her chest, sending her sprawling. She hit the floor hard. Pain flared across her ribs. Zelvar loomed above her. You've lost. No, she rasped. I've delayed you long enough. She reached in her belt pouch, pulled out a small controller, and hit the button. The lights went black. All of them. A moment later, backup lights blinked on. Dim red emergency pulses. Then came a sound. A massive metallic creak. The scream of releasing pressure. The hiss of cooling gas flooding the chamber. You didn't, Zelvar muttered. I did. Juno coughed, grinning through the pain. The ship's core had been pushed past its tolerances, and now Juno had activated a hard-safe cooling flush. Emergency systems flooded the power conduits with cryogas. Reactors shut down. Shields dropped. Weapons deactivated. The ship powered down section by section like a dying beast. For the first time in the Empire's long, ruthless history, their greatest flagship had been neutralized not by fleets, not by weapons, but by a mechanic with a vendetta and a spanner. Zelvar stared at the fusion core's flickering console. She beat us, he whispered. Juno hauled herself to her feet, one arm pressed to her bruised ribs. No, I beat you. You thought war was about blades and banners and big damn ships. You forgot the people who keep them running. She stepped closer. You forgot the grease monkeys, the maintenance crews, the welders and riggers and duct tape kings, the ones who fix what your heroes break. Zelvar lowered his blade. I don't understand. You're not a soldier. Exactly, she said. That's why you never saw it coming. Hours later, a UN recovery ship docked with the Wargid's fist, now adrift, silent, and glowing with emergency beacons. A boarding party found Juno sitting in the commander's chair on the bridge, sipping alien coffee from a plasma mug. When they tried to escort her off with ceremonial honors, she waved them off. Just tow this thing to Earth, she said. There's salvage all over this beast. I want the engine room stripped, the AI core downloaded, and at least 3 of those fancy recliner chairs. What about the commander? Someone asked. She smirked, still stuck in the waste chute. I think he's learned about humility and Terran plumbing. Back on Earth, the transmission spread like wildfire. News feeds around the planet replayed the same highlight. A grainy helmet cam shot of Juno standing over a sparking panel. Mr. Wax slung across her shoulders, grinning like a devil. Galactic Empire sent their greatest warriors, and we sent a furious woman with a spanner. Juno declined all medals. She didn't do interviews. She went back to her salvage yard, fixed up her brother's old ship, and installed a new AI that only played heavy metal. But people remembered. The Empire never came again, and every mechanic in the galaxy walked a little taller.